Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the second series of SOCHM webinar. The topic for today's session is cyber risk and mitigation. It is indeed a pleasure to have three different sectors from education to banking, financial to healthcare together with us to talk a little bit more on cyber risk and mitigation. My name is Deepak Talwar. I'm the co-chairman for SOCHM National Council on Cybersecurity, and I'm also the National Security for Microsoft India. A very warm welcome to all of you. I hope I'm audible to everyone. With the best of COVID time, network connectivity is also critical. So I have switched off my video for time being so that you can listen properly. Thank you for joining in. Let me take a very quick minute to introduce our distinguished speakers. Welcome, Professor Dr. Ajay Rana, Senior Vice President, Ritman Balwed Education Foundation Group from Amity AKG Group. Welcome, Mr. Samir Rotalikar, EVP and CISO for HDFC Bank. He may be joining in some time, trying to connect. A warm welcome, Mr. Arvind Sivakrishnan, Group CIO, Apollo Hospitals. Welcome, sir, on this webinar series. Welcome, Mr. Shivakumar Pandey, Group CISO from BSE Limited. A very warm welcome to Devashir Mukherjee, Vice President and Regional Sales, Sonic Wall. Courteous welcome to all the distinguished speakers. Thank you for taking our time. Very quickly, we will get into the topic. I'm sure we all are going through this, pandemic situation, working from home, remotely connected for multiple hours altogether. But let me share to set the tone of today's webinar session on cyber risk and mitigation. Its attackers are capitalizing on fear. We are watching them and we are pushing them. Still, we see our inboxes, mobile alerts, TVs, news updates, all over COVID-19 all the time. I mean, it's overwhelming and attackers know it. They know many are clicking without looking because stress levels are high and they are taking advantage of that. And that's why we are seeing an increase in the success of phishing attacks, increase in success of engineering attacks. Attackers don't suddenly have more resources diverting. We are setting up our own laptops and desktop. We were never prepared of that. So there is a situation of something like which is not prepared for 10 years have come in 10 days to us. Just to share one aspect before I hand over to the distinguished speakers, even from the organization where I belong to, from Microsoft, the threat intelligence team, we actively monitor and respond to see the shift in the focus. And it's not about just number of threats increased or the risk or mitigation plan or business continuity need to come out. There is also a way or the surge in the type of attacks or the intelligence which the cyber criminals are utilizing, and that can be as minimum as not having the basic hygiene. That was first of our topic of cyber hygiene and best practices, and the talk was given by our own National Cyber Secretariat General PAN. And this is now we are talking into the enterprise, healthcare, and education. Without much ado, I would quickly get into the agenda. I would like to invite our first speaker, Dr. Ajay Rana, Senior Vice President, RBEF Amity. Dr. Ajay Rana, you are part of education industry, and we would like our audience and all of us to tell us the real information, the stories, how things are moving. The plan, both being in the education community, and obviously you help us touch on the students and faculties, the sentiments which are going around. Passing on to Arvind, passing on to Ajay Rana.
Yeah, Hirinder, can you share the screen, please? Thank you, Mr. Deepak Talwar, to touch about this pandemic situation, where the entire world on this situation to tackle about their data and the database. So I'm touch about the main education sector because Hirinder, can you share my screen, please, so that I will start my presentation? Rohit or Hirinder? So that is visible to all, Deepak?
Yes. Yes, this is better. We can see the first slide, cybersecurity risk and mitigation, Dr. Rana.
Yeah, thank you, Deepak. So my main concern is that about a lot of persons in this COVID situation, COVID-19, they think about the education and the education sector. So I'm touch two more important things before we start my presentation. And we should all remember one thing, that what we have learned in our day-to-day life with our gurus, and gurus not only about those are the teachers, but the gurus with respect to the corporate world as well. And at our this the body language and our behavior with respect to all trends, and they said home is the first school for every child, or we can say that every citizenship or every citizen. My dear friends, maximum of the speakers belongs to various sectors, sector with respect to healthcare, sector with respect to cybersecurity, and the Deepak itself belongs to Microsoft. But in the today's scenario, there's a huge demand by about how to secure our database, cybersecurity from third party or some unknown persons outside from our organization, and we call that is cybersecurity risk. My main this the point about the first is about the data game in the world. In the current scenario, yes, data plays a very important role. You know that what time of this data become data? Around 150 years. What time of become Reliance is the Reliance? Around 43 years. What about the Birla? What about the Microsoft? What about the Oracle? What about the Apollos? What about any other sectors? They have some ethics, values, and sanskar, so that they achieve lot. But what about the cybersecurity right now? In the current scenario, you think about the Facebook, you think about the LinkedIn, you think about the Amazon, you think about the Twitter, you think about the Google. These are the companies who are take a rise, who lead entire world within 5 to 10 years, not more than 5 to 10 years. Entire world about on these sectors, and they said yes, data plays a very important role. About my this education sector, that is about the growth potential. About our honorable Prime Minister Modi said that we will be $5 trillion market our just the economy with respect to entire globe about 2022. But here about education sector, that is a very alarming, means the global education sector is around 6% of the global world product. That is very important, and these are the facts and the figures by the World Bank report. And according to World Bank report, they are the three main sectors who are always in a peak. Number one is about healthcare. In this situation, we call them COVID warriors as well. And in these sectors, the health sectors plays a very important role for some developed country, developing country, or third nation. Second is about the infrastructure. After this COVID, pre-COVID, and during the COVID, this infrastructure plays a very important role, how we communicate around across the globe. And third important thing is about world, there's the bank report, and education sector is the most important third one sector which have the huge potential. And in this by point number 2 said that around 4.5% compound annual growth with respect to the world, and about the $10 trillion by 2030. That is a projected report, and there's no slowdown in this sector. There's no slowdown. You are very surprised that every year from the Indian market, around $24 billion market that be projected to the outside world, where our young and dynamic persons, future leaders of other education sectors from US, from UK, and Australia. In this sector, you said that the rate of digitalization in education institutions increase, how they project them. So there the integration among technology and the education sector. So according to this, my point of view, the more and more education institutions are implement digital solutions. And here now the play of the cyber hackers, the hackers or cyber securities plays a very important role. You know that every year around lakhs of the students appear in JEE, and that is the one example. I am the part of CSAB, Center Seat Allocation Board, from the private education institution for last around 8 years. And the very alarming, you pay 4,000 rupees to 16,000 rupees, and you are easily find the database from the market. For example, JEE, the data every year around more than 16 lakh students opt JEE. If this data is available from the market, then what about the other data that available? You know that when the student take admission from nursery to the college, we will find all details about their parents' annual income, about their parent professional, about how about their local guardian, about their employees from the organization, and many more. So 16 lakh database plus is available to all of the persons, and these are the hackers who play with database, and that's why a lot of the companies, those who are not work with point of view, they plays with database. So with this about, you say that in the student tracking performance, scheduled classes, monitor assignments, providing online courses, and conducting virtual classes. Whenever you enter about all these things, you will find many players. In the last week, the news going on about the some, I'm not mention the name of any organization, the data may available on the portal if any organization use their digital platform. So during this COVID-19 post challenge to the education sector as well, and this depends on technology. We are the first university when the Friday government of India declared that please close this entire education system. On Monday, we will start our training. We will start our teaching from 2 days after with the help of these technologies. And I thank you, all these technology experts, all the system, those who support our delivery. But in this scenario, according to Modi's, according to China, according to US, and according to the UP government, or according to the Calcutta, the government declared that before 10th June, there's no predictions to open the education institution. So these are the 3 and 4 sectors. Education sectors plays a very important role, where you will find around crores of the students who will be the part of any school, college, or the higher education institution part. Second is about the cinema halls. Third about the malls, and fourth is about the social gathering. So education sector, because government have a control, government have a this the full access to about the person sit idle at home and educate themselves with the help of digital technologies. But my main concern is that what about the cyber hackers? They are too active. They are too active to send the email by the email from president at the rate XYZ organization, CEO at the rate XYZ organization, or we are blocking your services, we are blocking your this concern. So about this, the students, how you get the information from the students about the current student, those who are present in our system. And second is about our alumni. The third is about the faculty, and the fourth important about the research data. Third is, and last is intellectual properties. Whenever you file any patent, whenever research data, my dear friends, you are surprised that a lot of accrediting agencies, if you have a time after this presentation, go with any portal, UGC, NBA, NIRF, or NBA ranking. You simply click about, suppose, XYZ organization. You will easily find out about the details of these organizations. If you go with AICTE, then you will find the details of all faculty members, those who are registered on the portal. Then how the data secure? When the student take admission, we need some Aadhaar card. And end of the day, we have mentioned about one point. I am agree with all terms and conditions. Now here, the cyber hackers active mode. First is about the financial gain. They have the entire data available with the help of direct or indirect, or with the help of third party, that the data is easily available. And because the fees, whenever we pay fees, you have the entire details about the credit card. I am talking about the education sector, because these education sectors depends on direct or indirect technology. They are not so experts, they are not so advanced about the companies. The companies manage around thousands or 10,000 number of the employees. But what about the education institutions, those who have around 400 500 students hub? They are working on this, the some funding from the government side, but how to manage this database from third party? So fees about the concern. So they will hackers plays a very important role because they have the entire details with the help of Aadhaar card, with the help of some other confidential data. And data theft. Yes, whenever you take admission in X college, my dear friends, you will find the data, the same type of audience, the same type of persons who are available with other colleges. So that is the movement of data from one college to another college. What about this the hackers? Why the hackers becomes more common on the education sector? The first important thing about the lack of in-house knowledge. Around 45% population of this education sector. I'm so sorry, I belong to that sector, but I have faced a lot of challenges. There is in-house lack of knowledge, and hackers knows all these things. They knows that education sectors work on this the absolute technology. They know that how this education sector work. Not about the 30%, 40% institutions, those who are use the technologies beyond this system. But what about the others? Second is about 30%, they're the outdated softwares. And the third, an important thing about the data stored only in the one location. These education institutions not work like Airtel or some Facebook, the Google, Microsoft, any other, use the virtual database, but they are 100% dependent. So they are reliable on the persons who work continuously in the system. So data stored in the one location, and that is the culture issues. Bring your own device. They said all education institutions have their own responsibility to manage their database. But here this the hackers attack directly or indirectly to the system. They are directly 20% have experienced in the cyber attack about their malware, phishing, deny the services attacks, or ransom attack, and many more. So every time our faculty members I have received or we have received many the emails, sir, we have received the email from the top person of the system and my services may be blocked. Please guide us. Or there is some condition, I may agree with all these terms and conditions. They mention one subject line. They mention in the email address type, name is about CEO at the rate XYZ organization. So they attack randomly. And if they send this email to around, for example, 100 employees, we know that around 70% not replied. But what about the 30%? What about the 30% who directly reply these persons and they are breach entire information from the system? But about this mitigation, I know that the time limit is there. So I'm totally this the focus about the main point so that I am not here to use various points, but few points from my side about with all education institutions, all systems, those who are related to schools and higher education and the colleges. The number one step is that about establish the information security team. All colleges have right now outsourced their service to third party. We know that third party have signed some MOUs. I request all education institution before take any cheap vendor, before take any the unauthorized vendor or some the software, those who are not reliable, please manage your team with a group of at least 3 to 5% the strength of your reply from system from information security team. And I here to request all the persons, those who belong to this IT companies, please concentrate about some education institution where you find the huge potential market. And third is second important about point is that in identify the information assets. It is your responsibility how to manage these informations for the betterment of their employee, for the betterment of their future assets, those who have become the future leaders, how to manage this information, access the current security posture. It is the responsibility of any education institution. Okay, if the parents, if the students share their personal details, you know that in US and some developed country, we are not authorized to share the details of one student with the parents as well. But how if these information available in market? So we should take care about the securities, manage the risk. It is our responsibility to like in my point number 8, the spread awareness and conduct the training from the SDP, means the student development program, FDP, faculty development program, and here we need the help from the corporates. We know that there the CSR fund is there. We know that the lot of corporates approach to education institution. They said we give free of cost training to your student. They approach to the education institution about the free certification. They approach to the students. In the market there's a lot of I call these the cyber hackers. I call these persons as hackers. They approach to the education institution, and in this situation they said, education institution, we give the free of cost training to you. My dear friends, in this world there's nothing free. They give the free of cost virtual training. Whenever you enter the entire details, free around 30% and 70%. After that, they will charge money from your side. So that is about, I touch 3 and 4 sectors from my side. And I hope that if anyone have any question, so Deepak, you are moderate entire session. I'm available with all of you after this. I haven't seen entire this panelist, my colleague panelist. So you have full right to ask anything. That is from my side, Deepak. Hope that I complete my presentation on time.
Deepak, you are not audible.
Thank you. Am I audible to the panel and speakers and to the audience? I hope I'm audible now.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Very quickly. Thank you, Dr. Ajay Rana. I hope you can hear me now.
Yeah, Deepak, please. I can hear you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Ajay Rana. There will be some technical issues or challenges while remotely we are connecting. Our apologies, but bear with us. We will try to do best of the possible with video and audio for audience and for the speakers. Thank you for bringing the financial theft and data theft as the required. Cyber criminals are taking all such informations easily available, accessible in the domain of information security and especially in the education sector. Very nicely brought out, Dr. Ajay Rana, these mitigation practices, establishing an information security team, identifying your assets, something called as crown jewels, where you put it, manage risk. There should be an incident response plan, and obviously awareness plays an important role. Thank you for bringing that up. We will come back on the questions. Just to bring that perspective from the industry, I would like to invite Devashi Mukherjee, Vice President for Sonic Wall. It will be good while we have covered one sector of education before move to the thinking in healthcare. How are you seeing?
Yeah, thank you, Deepak. If you can, Mohit, can you just put my slides? Thank you so much. Is my slides visible?
Yes, very much.
Yes, it is.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. And definitely, Mr. Rana, Dr. Rana has already set the agenda, the platform for me. So it's across, actually. I think it's from everywhere we see this similar kind of threats, and my agenda will be primarily to give you that what exactly the perspective from the industry, what we see, right? So you can see that the topic is boundless cybersecurity. It's not new, but we are seeing it from last couple of years and we are practicing it, but probably now today it's more appropriate, and that's what we are utilizing this word boundless cybersecurity, and I'll talk about that. Sorry. Okay, so what we are actually trying to solve when we are going through a challenging time. Of course, we all know that worldwide we are facing the problem with the COVID-19, and the problems. What problem statement we are trying to solve here? We are trying to solve problem statement is a two problem statement rather. One is employee safety, second is business challenge, right? And beneath that, definitely, what we are talking about is anytime, anywhere business, and that's what is the need of the hour. So what exactly we are so if you see the present situation, of course we are trying to solve anywhere business, but then it's today's need. But actually, if you see beneath that, it's that industry is actually started accepting all these technologies since long, right? It's because of all of a sudden all these issues or pandemic happened, so entire world is talking about remote working or remote mobility solutions. But it's not new to the organizations because it is already started long back, but probably we have started utilizing 100% of those technologies. So why we are reaching into that? We are reaching into that. If I keep the COVID-19 for the time being as an aside, it's more of we are getting into a race to digitize, right? Proliferation of apps, a lot of applications using. The organizations are getting into borderless. So it's, for example, if I give you SonicWall, is not today that we are working remotely. We are a remote organization from the inception, and various organizations. When we were part of Dell, even Dell is primarily the remote employee organization. All these organizations are actually seeing all this or adapted all these technologies long back. So this is not new for us. Of course, for the entire world, probably it is new, and that's what we are trying to showcase, that what can be done and what are the technologies we have, plus what are the problems we are trying to solve. So the borderless organization is actually not new. It's already started. Many organizations started accepting these technologies, but probably today the scale is bigger. Okay, pervasive cloud. Now the usage of cloud is more, and more of a virtualized. Now we have started utilizing the virtualization. Evolving regulations. So in the same time, we have to meet the regulations, right? So what new the work reality? The reality is we are trying to solve that everyone is remote. We are talking about everyone is mobile and everyone is less secure, right? Again, I'm referring Dr. Rana's thing. The data is insecure. I completely understand. It's not only education; it's everywhere and everywhere. And I will talk about that. Okay, what is happening, because now everyone is started working remotely. Right? Threat landscape is definitely increasing. So what are the attacks? What we have seen, we are seeing every year billions of attacks. But if you see specifically after this COVID-19, we have seen specifically that they have started attacking even the remote employees, because they understand the remote employees are vulnerable. They are probably, their infrastructure is not ready. They are not utilizing proper software, proper hardware. So somehow they are trying to manage the business. So this is the right time to attack all these people, right? And if you have seen multiple attacks, I'm not getting into the exact data, but I've captured a couple of snapshots to give you that what all is happening. And I'm sure all of you know this, right? But then second thing, when we are talking about complexities of solution, again, I'm going back to Dr. Ranas. He mentioned the lack of knowledge. It's fact that it's not, so you are not only an organization or a vertical where you are facing this challenge. We see this challenge across, right? When we are talking about complexity in solutions, we have a lack of challenge and lack of the resources, right? So we are talking about when the explosion of technologies are increasing, we don't have the resource available. But then if I have to hire a right resources, the cost of resource is too high. But the reality is different. The reality is your actual headcount, your actual budget is much lesser than what exactly you need to mitigate your demand, right? And that's what we call, our industry is talking about, cybersecurity business gap. So what we are trying to solve is, it's together. One is technology problem solving, second is cybersecurity business gap together, because we understand it's not that I have a technology and I will give you that technology that will create complexity in your network or in your environment, but then who will solving this problem? It's our responsibility to, I can give you a solution so that which can solve your technology demand as well as the cybersecurity gap demand, right? So that you see it in a single package. And that's what we are talking about, the solution. So how, now the second question, which is coming probably all of your in your mind, that okay, now I have understood the problem, I have understood the gap, but then how can I mitigate my risk? How can I run my business? So the what is the looking forward is, we came out with the technology called boundless cybersecurity when the environment is distributed, right? So what organizations are actually doing, and when the business is normal, so whatever what we are talking about, that's the business is, we are considering this is the state of normal. So we see many organizations, although we have multiple references. So these are the some of the references I can take through you, that these are the in recent, which we have actually seen during the attacks or during the COVID-19, how we have solved their problem. So if you see 4 big accounting firms, the globally more than 200,000 users we have connected in less than maybe 10-15 days, right? So we have given them the remote mobility, remote connectivity, and they are up and running. And they are not, so I can't take them the name because all these are legal issues. It's in the process, but you will come to know. But then multiple resource reference cases and architectures are available with us. If you are interested, you can log into sonicworld.com and download all this information. Government, right? The millions of the defense people who are not in their base camp, they are connected through our solutions. Higher education, right? So this is one of the example of one of the largest higher education, I think, the institute, which is Higher Education Plus Research Institute, because their IPs are critical. They have implemented similar solutions to protect their data and to protect their IPs. So what is the critical success factor? So leverage the breakthrough, the global secured layered threat. We are talking about layered security since long. All of you know, those who are practicing security, they understand security is not a point solution, that you buy one firewall or something else, or email security, we can have a number of solutions that you are protected. This is a layered technology. You need to follow that layered technology, either whether you are in the perimeter or without perimeter, like we are talking about borderless, even you have to go into that layered technology. With that, with the layered technology, it has to be a machine learning and deep inspection built in, so that you can give you that solution. And we are talking about that. So what exactly this boundless cybersecurity model? These are the 4 key platform. I'm not talking about, I'll not get into that detail because in the interest of time, it's more of a, we are trying to solve the problem anywhere, everywhere. The business is anywhere, everywhere. How I can give you, connect all your devices, your user, and your data work. And then when I'm giving you connection or secured connection, this connection has to be secure. And to give you secure connection, I should know the unknown. Okay, so that is called the terminology which we use is called know the unknown. If I don't know the unknown, what are the attacks happening to your network, I cannot protect you. And then third is seamless coverage. So when you are working from home, your network should be secure, should be seamless, right? That's a seamless coverage what we can provide, and it has to be a multi-layer, because threat can be from anywhere. If you are using, let's say, only a one layer, for example, you are behind a firewall, you can't say that I'm protected. You have different vectors like email, you have an endpoint, you have a cloud access, right? All these type of vectors are there. So what we are talking about is multi-layer approach. And the last but not least, which is a unified view. This is a pane which is primarily for your IT user or IT administrator. Now your users are across, not in one location, and still you have to manage, you have to monitor, you have to see what exactly is happening. All the policies are implemented across or not. But that's a unified view has to be there. So what exactly the problem what we are trying to solve with the boundless security, with disruptive economics, intelligent automation, and adapt continuously. So these are the three base pillars through which we have created the cybersecurity boundless model. Okay, so the answer is SonicWall Boundless Cybersecurity, and I will talk about what exactly the main pillars of boundless cybersecurity. These are three pillars what we have decided. That one is, of course, know the unknown, which I have already spoken about. Through how we are doing it, we have a couple of technologies like sandboxing, which our technology name is called Capture ATP, which is Advanced Threat Protection. RTDMI, which is a real-time deep memory inspection, which is again a unique in the industry, when we even scan the memory level inspection. And then there is a different kind of technology, artificial intelligence, and all these things we do so that we can see that, okay, we can identify the unknown attacks. Unified visibility, again, when you have multiple technologies, multi-location, distributed architecture, it has to be a unified visibility. And the disruptive economics, it has to grow with your business demands, right? It cannot be a stagnant that, okay, now I have implemented and it will go for ages. No, it has to be agile based on your business requirement. It has to change the shape, and that's what we call disruptive economics. Okay, so what is boundless exposure? Now, if you see, these are your, at the bottom of the screen, you can see that these are the exposure points. These are the type of attacks which we are trying to solve. Memory threats, cryptojacking, encrypted threats, multiple time phishing, non-standard ports. And the vehicles are many. Now it is no more only your laptop, right? It can be your endpoint, can be your IoT device, your Wi-Fi access point, your cloud, your email security. And we are trying to solve all these problems and all these devices through a boundless cybersecurity model. So what exactly the architecture, how we are solving this? So when we see that, okay, my threat vectors are coming from multiple sites, like multiple layer, either it's a email, mobile, cloud, endpoint, we are trying to get the data from all these points through our deep learning algorithm, where we are actually trying to get all these attacks, right? If you see 9.9 billion file we have received last year, and that is from our threat intelligence team. And out of that, 99% we solve on its own, because we know those attacks, which is called known attacks, where we have the signatures or artifacts available with us. So that means 99% we are protecting. So, in school, if you are achieving 99% marks, you are A+ grade, right? But in security, even 99% is not enough. We are talking about that 1%. Even that 1% can be a big number, because that is 99 million. If 99 million can actually stop 99 million organizations' business. So that's what is our interest, that knowing the unknown. When we know, and how we do that, through our Capture ATP sandbox. Again, it's a multi-layered engine, plus the real-time deep memory inspection, and we are blocking even the unknown data. And that's what is remaining 1%, what we are talking about. And then once we understand, then again we create the artifacts for the entire community, and we protect the entire community. If it is clear, we have cleaned the file, then we deliver to the user. So this is the model in a summary. I know, I cannot get into detail because of the short of time, so I'm a little fast, but if you have any question, definitely you can reach back to me and we can give you more information. So when we are doing all these activities, it has to be a single pane of glass, right? All these activities has to be captured in a single pane of glass, and that is the way we can actually minimize your the skill gap, because we can't say that, okay, now we have technology which will create a problem for you. Now what we are talking about, only one piece in our entire layered security, because our layered security is it's big, the portfolio is big, but what I've taken is only one piece, which is primarily for boundless. When we are talking about primarily the problem which you are trying to solve today is when you are boundless, or you are beyond the perimeter, right? You are not within the perimeter. So what we are talking about is a 3 layer, and these are the layer which ideally you should implement in your organization to protect. So this is a combination of layer. It's not a single point of product. One is user and client. You have to protect your client, and that client has to have a clientless access. It should understand multi-factor authentication, SSO, endpoint. It should meet the endpoint compliances plus full client EPC, that embedded packet capture. In combination of the product, which is again the leader in the industry, which is called Secure Mobile Access, which has various forms, shape, size, and it's a physical, virtual, or even cloud. So you can create a capture, the combination of this endpoint and SMA with the solutions, because a couple of your application may be in the private cloud or maybe in the SaaS, because many organizations are using even the SaaS-based application. So how can we protect your SaaS-based application, your private cloud, your mobility solution, and your endpoint together? That's what we call a zero trust, least privilege approach, which can give you an easy, anywhere, anytime trusted access. That's what the boundless security when you implement. Sorry, it's not moving. Yeah. So what is the journey? And I'm sure all my industry friends will accept this. So what we have seen, all our customer, maybe 5 years back or 7 years back, when we started talking about securities, that people or all our customers are more of a reactive, right? That security was more of a reactive. Then all our customers started aware, getting aware about the technologies, securities, and then more of a aware customer. Then the next generation came into as a proactive customer, when the customer understood the security aware, dedicated security team, and advanced protection. Then when we are now presently, probably we are predictive customer. All our customers are understood about layered security, broad coverage, limited automation. But then what next? The next is boundless. When we are talking about data-centric security posture, always on, right? Secure remote mobile workforce. We are talking about aware of current and emerging attacks. So it is more of a predictive and boundless together, when you know that what exactly is coming towards your way, and protecting against most evasive threats. So that's the boundless model. And the last slide, which is about SonicWall, in a summary, we are an organization which is 215 plus countries we are present. We ship 3 million plus firewalls, and we are working with 20,000 plus channel partner, 300 patents. We are 28 years old organization, and we are protecting more than 500,000 large customer globally. So this is the summary. What exactly the boundless cybersecurity? We are trying to solve the problem, which is wherever human works, wherever apps are, everything of any kind of threats, every possible endpoint, every type of infrastructure, any type of any size of network, and any type of business. And that's what the boundless cybersecurity. Thank you so much. If you need any information, you can ask me question now. You can ask me question later, as per your convenience. Thank you so much. Over to you, Deepak.
Thank you, Debashish. Thank you, Debashish. I hope I'm audible to you, to others as well.
Yes.
Devashish?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, Devashish. It was elaborative. It's exhaustive to talk about the process. For everyone to summarize in a second about know the unknown as a practice, or unified visibility are some of the pointers which Devashish brought down. The boundless security, it's imperative while we are creating your cyber risk and mitigation. With respect to the time, I'm just trying to check. Hey, Samir, are you also in? You're able to hear us? You've joined in? Okay, just test it out. I would like to now invite Arvind Sivaramakrishnan, Group CIO, Apollo Hospitals. Arvind, before you take up the board, rather I would try to build that up. You are in a challenging situation, as in not as an organization, but also as a sector, where healthcare, life sciences have taken the center stage. It's on both sides, for the survival piece as well, and struggling in the COVID situation. And from a security and risk mitigation perspective, we have been seeing from our organization, even from the industry, that every country in the world has seen at least one COVID-19 themed attack. Very, very unfortunate. And this is the volume of successful attacks in outbreak hit countries is all over. It can be from the United States to Russia to Southeast Asian to the Indian organizations. So, Arvind, we would like to hear from you on both the best practices, the mitigation risk, but also would like to hear for our audience and for all these speakers, how you are seeing as in healthcare while we are talking about building, chatbots, creating technologies and platforms, so that you can help mitigate risk, and then further we as an industry can help mitigate risk for the citizens. Arvind, over to you to hear from you.
Thank you very much, Debashish, and thank you, Dr. Rana. You had mentioned that the healthcare workers are now the COVID warriors, and definitely yes, a very big thank you to all the members of the healthcare fraternity who are protecting us, who are keeping us safe, who are risking all their personal safety and trying to get the world safe. So a very big thank you to all of them. God willing, India and the world will be out of this virus and this difficulty very soon. So with that, yes, healthcare is challenged. Delivery of healthcare is challenged, not just response to the virus and those affected by the virus, but healthcare in its basic form is severely challenged. As you see, other parts of elective treatments, other parts of healthcare is now on a very low to a standstill situation, obviously because capacity is being created to take care of those who will be affected by the virus. But let's step aside from the virus situation and look at healthcare as a whole, even prior to this COVID situation. Healthcare has always been in the center, and when you're talking about privacy and security, healthcare is all about privacy and security because you're talking about an individual, you're talking about a person. And any detail about a person is private and confidential. It's to be shared only with those who are part of the care process or those who are absolutely connected to the patient in terms of what we might call in typical jargon as next of kin. So healthcare has always demanded that sort of an activity. And when we look at healthcare as such, the world of healthcare and the supply and the demand of healthcare are at two extremes. The demand is the entire planet of 1 billion people or more than 1 billion people, and the supply is absolutely short. The supply is short because there are less healthcare workers available, and healthcare workers have to be available in a certain education format with certain levels of knowledge, with certain levels of regulations and expertise, and that's definitely on a shortage. Furthermore, there's a clear divide between the urban and the rural and the semi-urban as it may account to the economics of the world. So the only way by which healthcare can be provided to everybody who needs to consume it, and everybody is all of us in all formats of what we exist, is technology. So we are clearly seeing that there is an increased reliance on the need for technology. There is an absolute need for the golden triangle of access, quality and cost to be optimized. And access means, again, providing access to healthcare for 1 billion people is again reliance on technology. And there is a high degree of expectation around the best of best quality and the best of best clinical outcomes. And you know what? This expectation is absolutely real. It's absolutely right to have such an expectation, and such an expectation can be mapped only with the proliferation and the use of technology, because the healthcare workers are human. And how do we connect that human angle to the delivery of health services? And here I know it sounds odd when I use the word mistakes or errors, but healthcare is not an industry where we can expect and afford to see mistakes and errors. That means that we need to have it foolproof. We need to have it 100% accurate, 24/7, 365, ubiquitous and omnipresent. And that means the calling of technology to ensure that all of this is present. And this means that the patients who are demanding the high quality service and the providers who are accountable for these high quality of services are always kept in check. All of this means technology and technology all the way. The more we talk of technology, obviously comes in the risks of cybersecurity, everything that has got to do with data around it. And that means that we need to be ensuring that cybersecurity and safety and privacy are made part of our DNA as these services are delivered. This is very, very important that we ensure that that happens. Let's now look at an organization inside out. Typically, and let's be honest about it, when you talk about cybersecurity, it's some IT thing. I'm sure the IT people are taking great care of it. We've got a lot of confidence on our IT team, and I'm sure they'll do. This is typically what we hear in every organization. Cybersecurity is an organizational movement. Cybersecurity is not relegated to IT. I understand that the subject of cybersecurity has technology built into it that makes the personnel from the technology teams the most knowledgeable to administer it and ensure that it takes its step forward. But IT security, cyber security is an organizational subject. It's a cultural subject of change management and people. It's a subject of organizational transformation and process, and not relegated to the silos of IT. And that's a very, very important call to action, as I would request all fellow members and peers to look at when we are talking of cyber risk and mitigation. Then comes the whole aspect of building the culture of privacy. Let's get into Indian norms itself. Building the culture of privacy has a lot to do, especially in our society, because when we go walk to any organization, Dr. Rana also mentioned about the education sector. When you talk about them and say, I'm so and so, and I'm related to a person in so and so manner, you will see that our service sector is very upfront in giving up information. As much as we value our servicing mentality, that's the 101 of the no-no of dissemination of information. So we need to build privacy, we need to build security again as a culture from the inside out and from the outside in. That means that everybody has to start valuing the processes associated with cyber security, and these not be taken as additional information or information that is voluntarily given. These have to become voluntarily disclosure of information as to who deals with what information in what format in what situation. And I'm talking from a healthcare angle, but it is applicable to almost every industry segment, that this is when you look at both the provider and the consumer. Again, in the healthcare situation, it could be the healthcare workers, the payers, as well as the patients who are the consumers of healthcare. So that is again very, very important in terms of how information is disseminated. Then comes the transfer of information. When we're talking of information dissemination, we're obviously today in the world of technology, we are seeing that the boundaries between the various health providers is very, very thin. What do I mean by boundaries between health providers? Let's take the example of probably the largest healthcare program in this planet, Ayushman Bharat. Ayushman Bharat is being administered to the entire population of India, and clearly it is being done on a technology platform. Without a technology platform, administering such a large scheme for the well-being of such a large population is close to impossible. We are also seeing every state has a chief minister's health service scheme. We have CGHS, which belongs to the entire central government health services. Such a large population of patients or consumers who, and when I say consumers, these are beneficiaries, but they are the patients and the consumers. They are consuming it. And this service can be effectively administered only with the advent of technology. That means transfer of information from the healthcare sector to the payers and the beneficiaries is happening in a technology manner, again ensuring that all aspects of privacy and security are adhered to by design. So we are talking of privacy by design. I'm not talking of the hackers. I'm not talking of the intruders, but I'm talking of inside out in terms of building a culture, building a system, building a curriculum that is clear in terms of by design, keeping security and privacy in mind. That means the people, the process, and the technology. This is not just a one-sided conversation of securing IT systems. It is also about securing the mindset of people. It is about securing the transfer of knowledge both by technology and by people. And you know, in healthcare, knowledge, information is shared both by people and by technology, and that's where we're looking at. And then coming up to the entire culture of building for the future. We've all, both the speakers in before me mentioned a very important point of it's not there because people are not aware. I also touched upon it. How do we ensure that we build awareness, because we are facing the problem of cybersecurity mismanagement and compromises because people are not aware. Inside what we call as insider attack, or those who are unknowingly disclosing information that can hamper cybersecurity. So that means that building the cyber curriculum into every school, graduate, undergraduate level, as well as making them mandatory in all aspects of postgraduate. I am not limiting this to healthcare. Will build that culture, the DNA of thinking security, behaving security, and practicing security. So that's a real request for a call to action in terms of building that. We are seeing that schools are teaching their children about how to use Microsoft Office Word or PowerPoint or all of those. This is not about a company and branding a company, but they're thinking in terms of how you can use tools and techniques for efficient management of their education process and how to use that effectively. When we were studying, things were different. We had to write it in and then type it in, and there was quite a lot. And now there are layers of efficiency going in. It's appreciable. I know there are issues related to plagiarisms that always come in. So for every benefit, there is going to be some aspect of a negative which we need to control and contain. So building in that education is absolutely welcome. Then when it comes to cyber risk mitigation and risk management, I think what's being proposed by the government in terms of the personal data protection bill is absolutely well. It's much needed. We need to follow and adhere to standards, whether it is the ISO 27001 standards, or whether it is related to the NIST guidelines as applicable to India, of course. But a guideline is always welcome to study and look at applicability. These are activities that are most welcome. The moment you bring in regulation, there's going to be an immediate screen for cost. Who's going to bear the cost? And with the COVID situation, talking about cost is a very, very uncomfortable situation. But you know what? There is a cost to quality. There is also a cost to regulation. There is also a cost to adherence. And all of this, I call it in terms of our own right to be treated in a manner in which privacy and security is maintained. That's basically the right that everybody has to maturity of systems. It's purely an act of responsibility. Bringing that act of responsibility is vital into the system. It brings in a change, and there is a cost that is associated, and this cost has to be rationalized. We have to find the money, or we have to create the mechanisms for it, but it is an act of responsibility that we adhere to. Specifics of the act is not something I'm going to dwell into. There are always suggestions that things can be made better and better, but fundamentally the thought of regulating so that it builds a culture of security, privacy as a DNA of an organization, of a society, of a nation, of a practice is what is important. making it just merely punishable is probably not going to serve the purpose. So that is another way of looking at cyber risk, security and prevention. Above all, it's clear that there have to be regular governance. Governance is critical, and service organizations looking at governance is very, very, very critical, because again, like I alluded to, it's not an IT thing. It's not something that will be taken care of in a silo, or it is good that employees have trust on their management, but you know what, with governance, again, it starts inside out. Governance, not just top down. Always cyber security, I'm sure all of us have seen it, needs a management trust, but we need to have this bottom up as a cultural transformation. That's when we are looking at cyber risk and mitigation effectively addressed. All of this put together, again, my last closing in terms of request to the industry, particularly IT industry, the technology industry, the networking industry, the security industry. There are lots of tools available, but honestly, to many in the service sector, and I'm taking healthcare as part of the service sector, this sounds like rocket science. We have to simplify this. We have to simplify this so that we are able to understand where there is return on investment and how to gauge the return on investment, because many aspects of cybersecurity and prevention is not a visible return on investment. That means that the industry has to help us guide, align the priorities. We need to have a neutral body that will help us align these priorities with all of us, so that the industry can put these into practice, and the industry is well guided, and it is not merely a question of the procurement of a certain sets of tool sets and think that we are going to be secured. It is the tool sets with the understanding. That means a call to action to our own service industry on identifying our own organization. Unless we know who we are and what we are, aligning with what we want will not work out. One shoe does not fit all. Just because it is done in another organization does not mean it fits my organization. So internal, every organization needs to understand what its prerogatives are, what its activities are. So all of this put together is how I see cybersecurity being understood, being managed, being mitigated, and being administered continuously, not just because we are in a situation of deep stress now because due to the COVID situation, but this is an ongoing activity that manages the state of health and the maturity with which we need to manage the state of health. As I said before, I see this as an act of responsibility to ensure that all of us are there, and all of us are there in this together maturely and trying to ensure that all of us is done. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to all of you. I'll take questions at the end of the session. Over to you, Deepak.
Hello.
Deepak.
Just a quick check. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Am I audible? Is it better? Am I audible?
Yes, Deepak, you're audible.
You can hear us, right?
Yeah, Deepak, you can. Yeah, please.
Okay, thank you. Arvind, as long as all of us can hear, and especially the audience, thank you, Arvind. I would like to stop. Thank you. I would like to stop here for a minute and take the opportunity, and for everyone in the panel, as well as for the audience, to summarize what you said. And there is a reason behind that. This is eye-opener, Arvind. It's not the healthcare, but I will try the points which you brought down, from starting with the operational challenge, not just about cyber risk and mitigation, but about the right. So shortage of skills, the resources which is required to access the technology, embrace the technology, was a set foundation. Arvind, thank you for that. You brought up there is no errors. I'm sure it is more in the medical fraternity. You can't make errors, not just being on the patient or lying somebody on the bed, but also equally important where errors can cause a higher data theft or mitigation plan can fail if we have so many errors and mistakes. Thank you for bringing that out. I'm thrilled to even share the point which you brought on about culture of cybersecurity. Thank you, Arvind, for bringing the culture part of cybersecurity. The way we say it's a boardroom discussion. It's not an IT issue. It's not to bring a room in the IT room and say this is what we need to build a cyber risk or a mitigation or a one-page plan. It does not work. The real world works with people, process, and technology. Another three-legged stool which you brought up, and any of those legs broken, the system is broken. Unfortunately, our learning as well and the historical evidences are people are the weakest link out of these three legs. So that's very well taken up. Thank you for bringing the Ayushman Bharat piece. We are privileged part of being in India. It's one of the healthcare largest program, and we all as an organization embracing the technology and bringing is really important. I still have a lot to say. What you brought down, Arvind, that I would leave at least a minute more to explain that the also built up the behavioral aspect. The thinking security is very important, not just implementing technology. You brought up the point of privacy by design. I would like to highlight for audience when Arvind mentioned personal data protection bill being contemplated for a year or two, and now it's being tabled, and hope we post-COVID situation we see in the winter session, which is really important for governance to take care of citizens' personal data. And we all as an organization are representing positive that to embrace and make 100% compliance for whether it is data for citizens, data for corporates, and any organization. Similarly, for everyone's information, we also have coming up with National Cybersecurity Strategy Vision 2020. India was not having that cyber strategy 2020 or an enhanced version. So this is one more thing which is going to impact each and every organization and industry in coming future. And that will build the strong foundation for the platforms which we provide for technology which we adopt. Thank you, Arvind, for bringing the healthcare perspective, bringing the technology embracement, building the golden practices of being accessibility. Quality is something which you have put a lot of push on, that just don't bring the technology, it's the quality which matters. And similarly, the design. And that's why we will say that when you are building a technology and security organization, I would like to highlight that statement here as you need to build technology, something called as inbuilt technology, not onboard. It has to be inbuilt as a privacy or designs when you're bringing it to the system. And these all are in the technical terms you may hear in personal data protection bill and national cybersecurity strategy coming up. Thank you, Arvind, for such a high tone. Started with Dr. Rana on education and building things. Devashish brought an OEM point of view. You have brought up healthcare sector as well as the overall regulatory governance practices. Shiv Kumar, we will be obliged and waiting to hear from you, and you have a lot of learning like all of us, and also for the audience to hear Shiv Kumar, the CISO for BSc. We would like to hear from you about your views on cyber risk mitigations and the overall industry, how they are reacting. Shiv Kumar, over to you.
Yeah, thanks everyone. So just to talk about the BSE being top 10 stock exchanges. So for any stock exchanges, if you talk about in cybersecurity, CIA, like confidentiality, integrity, and availability, even availability is very important, and for us we can't even afford in downtime in a seconds. We operate in a 6 microsecond, which is one of the fastest stock exchange in the world. Coming to cybersecurity, so we have built next gen cybersecurity operations center, which is considering of the technology like artificial intelligence, UBA, advanced persistent threat. So we have deployed almost all kind of technology because we can't even afford this kind of cyber attack which can stop our business. So it is our requirement also. Now today I will talk about the COVID-19 situation, considering the worldwide COVID-19 situation and updates of the growing cases which affected the people from the viruses in India. We have started also planning and preparation of this situation, such as a lockdown. And we wanted to assure that resources and technology planning in such a way that we can best and optimally utilize our resources. So, and the business should be as usual to and continue in this pandemic situation caused due to the COVID-19. Now, if you talk about BCP per se, this is not like a normal BCP point of view where we have a primary site, then you have an a DR site. Like if the primary site is full, you will go to the DR site. Like most of the stock exchanges, they actually operate from the DR site for few days to check it. But here the situation, both the sites are affected because of this kind of. So total BCP strategy should be different. Like the challenges, if I talk about like capacity challenges for laptop and desktop, connecting a BOID devices, number of VPN licenses, like cyber and data security challenges, phishing email increase, DDoS attack increase. So how we will come down? So we have defined work from home policy, guidelines for that, cyber security controls for that, security access to the system from the internet has been established. Those are already there, but we have established more stringent depending upon the work from home policy. So we have now, if I summarize this thing in 5 areas, like one is the technology and connectivity part, second is the regulatory requirement, third about the data security, fourth is very important aspect about is a cyber security training and awareness, and last is the resource planning. So I will talk about now VPN. So we have given a two types of the VPN right now in the current scenario. One is we talk about the VPN which is called an IPsec VPN, a client base which is for the company asset, and then second is about the SSL VPN which is a container based VPN for the BOID devices where the secured workplace is there and there is a no interaction between the user host desktop and a secured workplace session. So this is very highly secured. And if I'm talking about the some of the security controls which are built, like multi-factor authentication is there, where your ID password, your OTP on SMS you are getting it. Complete tunnel is encrypted. We have a geofencing also, like only it will be accessible from India. It is a time-based access is also given to the users, and we have built a zero trust model in all among that, which is the role based and a zero based trust. And very importantly, we keep on doing third party assessment also for the network whether it is secured or not. So we have, and our anti advanced persistent threat is also integrated with this net with this VPN solution. So these are the some of the things which we have built which we have built for VPN and technology aspect. Then coming to the regulatory, we are being a national critical infrastructure, being certified and notified also. So all type of cyber security advisories and threat advisories receive either from SEBI or CERT-In or NCIPC. We check, integrate, test, and then implement also. We have integrated through our SIM solution also, which is on real-time basis. Then we have a data security as a type, talk about zero trust model is there, and the DLPs or data leakage prevention is also there. Very important aspect coming to the cybersecurity training and awareness. We proactively, cybersecurity awareness emailers. We keep on sending all the employees do's and don'ts. We internal users, especially the group companies, we proactively inform, the user about the cyber threat, control and measure what we have done, and we inform to the vigilance and not to trust on any email or information originated from outside the organization for COVID-19, and to report all such incident to our next gen cybersecurity operations center 24/7. We also do the awareness training through the emailers, and meanwhile there are lots of requirement which we are not only doing for ourselves, also we are informing to the customers, the member brokers, the other company which is connected to us, so which we are informing the external customer also. And we keep on implementing all the advisories not only from the regulators but from the OEM partners like Checkpoint, Microsoft, McAfee, Cisco. There are lots of companies are there. They are also keep on sending lots of patches or advisories which also we keep on testing and all. this is all about the technology. Then resource planning is also very important. So first, check most of the employees or technology employees on the regular basis, their health and all, whether they are affected or not affected, including their families also. Because normally nowadays we are running with the 80 and 20 rule, because 20% employees working right now and 80% working from home. We plan for the shift accordingly, the transportation facility, their essential services like their passes for the governmental, backup for backup resources also, their food arrangement, their stay arrangement. So these are the challenges which we are facing, and how we are tackling down, to take care all these, uh, mediated, actions to come out these challenges. If you have any questions, then I can answer them.
Thank you, Shivakumar. I think you brought up some, very good points about some best practices as well, practically how the CISOs or the organizations, and I'm sure the SMEs and other organizations who have, if they have logged in the partner community, they would have leveraged few points which you brought up, Shiv, for the cybersecurity 5 practices, the IPsec tunneling while using VPN while you are remotely connected, some of the parameters they can practice overall while they're building it up. Very, very practical situations you have brought up. Even the governance and security, I'm happy that you have said it's not only about the organizations of consulting, which is bringing the advisories. You also need to make sure that as an organization, each one of us need to bring what is it we are doing, and these are the services. Arvind also brought out that services point is very, very critical. I think it is relevant to the quality of services as well as real time. I would like to make a statement there from our organization as well, and representing the industry. If you get an attack, it's very important not just thinking from the pandemic perspective. Do you have a business continuity plan, right? Ready earlier, or we are creating now? It's very important that during this time we also leverage and step back to recreate or to bring those the acts, the process, the regulations, procedures, read through, identify what is bare minimum requirements we need to follow. I'm sure a lot of organizations are also giving a vision of long term, that whether post work from home or post pandemic situation, are we going to continue some of the aspects like this? And if we have to, what are those changes or disruptions which this industry will going to change vis-a-vis these specific areas which we have been talking in the past historically. So COVID-19 situation will not only accelerate the adoption of technology, but will renew the focus of many of these in enhancing the neo technologies. Thank you, Shivakumar, for bringing that aspect for all of us. May I quickly check if Samir has logged in? I see some technology issues which we could not see him earlier. Samir, a quick soft check. Are you online?
Yes, I'm there. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, Samir. Welcome, please, Samir.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you, Samir. I mean, this is excited to see. While you came up, the voice is being loud. I think that the tone and the heat of the cyber risk and mitigations have been built up well. I hope you were able to hear from Arvind ji, Shivakumar ji, Dr. Rana, Debashish from industry perspective. This is the real time. I would like to have some questions, like I have put hard talk for Arvind. We had a chat yesterday as well. And just to conclude that point as well, there are so many emergency services which are required, not related to COVID, which have been shared yesterday while we were having quick chat. And this gave me, even as an individual, how heartening it is that if I have to visit hospital, I'll be scared, Arvind, right? At this point of time, how do we differentiate was a bigger thing? Similarly, when I'm logging in online right now, and I'm getting a pop-up from HDFC Bank or any of our banks, and I'm logged in, I always feel worried that, okay, am I safe, secure, because I'm working from home? My boundaries of disruptions have been already gone, and I'm directly connected to my corporate network. At the same time, the same system, the same mobile is my homely affairs as well to connect and pay things. So Samir, we would like to hear from you where the channels of digitization, because you are part of essential services, you have to continue for us business as usual. How are you seeing this shift, and how you're going to correlate and give some messaging on cyber risk and mitigation? And we would like to hear also in terms of embracing the technologies and what all we can learn from the industry you belong to, which is a very primary industry of banking. Samir, over to you. Samir is the Vice President
Right.
and CISO for HDFC Bank. Thank you, Samir.
Right. So good afternoon to all of you. So I think it is advantage on my part to be the last member. Already my friends have articulated and conveyed their thoughts in a very lucid manner. So nothing great for me to be left out from cybersecurity risk perspective or cyber threat landscape perspective. But just quickly to tell you about, how I'm thinking now, or what is happening, what we are doing, what we should be doing collectively as a team, and also as the individuals representing their organization. So that's the thought process or pointers I have. Look, I think last 1.5 months, 40 odd days have been very different in the life of a CISO. For example, especially the banking CISO. Initially, let us take my example. I got flooded with multiple requests about people want to access their application, their network storage folders, their individual desktops from home. So making sure that the devices from where the requests are generated have the if there's a malware, then the malware, what is the probability of malware sniffing the session or sniffing the screens, or keylogger getting capturing the keystrokes. So multiple issues related to malware, related to data leakage, and related to some unknown stuff, because this is a completely uncharted territory all along. And in my view, this is a completely unprecedented situations we are witnessing right now. And I'm sure, because I also had the business continuity in my organizations, none of the BCP meetings we envisage this particular scenario of complete globe or India getting locked down, right? So this scenario, this situation, as I said, is a completely new to all of us, which means the business continuity has taken absolutely a super solid precedence over any of other initiatives. Today, the top leaders, top management, the board of directors want absolutely the business to continue. There has to be a business resiliency. Whatever is required to do that in terms of the cyber risk management, in terms of the IT initiatives, in terms of the compliance, governance, whatever you say, that is left to the individuals. Now you understand the kind of stress and the thought process this particular aspect would bring in the life of a CISO. Okay, so that is point number one. Now, having addressed this thought process, having thought and clearly put down the plan of action to address this end goal of the business continuity, that is something is of perhaps importance and interest to the panelists and also to our audience right now. So naturally, we have ensured that whatever the technical control need to be validated, supported in terms of making sure that any devices connecting to our VDI has the antivirus enabled. So those checks have been done now. We have allowed the VDI access for the people to log on remotely. But I think the larger game is, what I'm thinking right now, is the game of working from home becoming a new normal, right? When working from home is becoming a new normal, naturally the people would go one step up. I'm saying that, hey, you are mandating me right now to access the bank's applications through a containerized environment through my official laptops, which is fine as a policy control. But going forward, I can't procure the 100,000 laptops. For example, in HDFC Bank, our strength is more than 100,000. It's more than 120,000 rupees. So I can't have 120,000 laptops to be given to each and everybody. That's a very costly proposition. So what is the way out? The easiest way out is, okay, the pay for the people who have the personal desktops, the personal laptops at home, taking care of their internet billing, and making sure that a basic hygiene is set up, and tell them, hey, you want access to these applications through your desktops. This is the minimum 5 to 10 controls in place. So the question comes of reimbursement, and that is different. That is another point which will kick in. Another point number 3, the people would say that I don't have a desktop laptop. The era is gone now. I have a fantastic mobile device. I have a smartphone. I have Microsoft Surface. I have an iPad. I have tablets. So I want access through all those mechanisms, right? May not be all people will demand, but certain set of segment people will demand like this. So the question is, are you ready? Do you want the data to get downloaded on their machines? From there, they can forward the data to out. Or do you feel that if their machine is compromised by sophisticated hackers now, and who are open in this market? And I was talking to some threat researchers, a week back, and he was telling me that the kind of chats he's seeing, especially from Iranian and Russian hackers on the dark web, is mind-boggling, right? Because they are completely free time to all of them, and this is perhaps the best time for all of them. So they have plenty of time. They have a new technology train which has evolved called working from home. Many people in the initial flood request have even worked from home without making sure that the reasonable security practices or controls are in place, or basic necessary cyber diligence put in place. So actions have been given. So it is perhaps relatively easy for them to try to break into or penetrating the organization. So that's another area. So while that is happening, the threat landscape is getting evolved, the dark web is getting more active. The fraudsters have a lot of time now. And there is a technology demand, technology evolution happen, and there is a demand by your people to access those devices from work from home through multiple devices, which is kind of the BYOD I was touching too. So I think this is the interesting area. So the next 1, 2, 3 years, I think this is what will completely rule the world. And already I think TCS has kicked or created a spark, saying that by 2025, 75% of the employees of TCS, the top management want to work from home. And I was just talking to our senior people, and I was told that similar thought process is also going on in our bank, right? So I think today, what we are discussing, focusing is only one element of technology risk control. I think the ball is much bigger. It touches the compliance angle, it touches the governance angle, it touches the oversight, visibility, data privacy, how to make sure that the guy who's accessing my infrastructure is my employee and not his spouse or his brother from his laptop, right? So how to make sure that, a person has, as a policy, we mandate cameras to be enabled. If some other face kicks in between the camera and the person sitting at the time, the session gets disconnected. How you make sure that the session is recorded, the screen time is calculated. So I think multiple parameters will go on in the days to come, and each parameter getting introduced will bring certain elements of known risk, of malware, of data leakage, of ransomware, of screen grabber, of keylogger. More importantly, there would be an unknown element getting introduced, may get introduced in the days to come. So having the visibility over what is going on as part of the session management, to what extent I beef up my detection capabilities. I think one of my friend had said about the NIST framework. So how do I divide the complete program, the complete work from home strategy in terms of protect, detect, respond, and recover. Respond and recover being the cyber resiliency element. So I think this is very, very important in the days to come. So it is too early for anybody to say that, oh, I am there. We are absolutely there. Guys, we are there to a great extent. But what will happen in the next 6 months down the line in terms of access request part, we never know, right? So study the market, study the technology evolution, study the cyber threat, landscape, study the new risk getting emanated, and plan your strategy, tweak your policies, and then take it forward. So this is my 2 cents. Otherwise, Deepak, over to you.
Thank you, Samir. Just a quick note.
Hello. Hello.
Am I audible, Samir, to you?
Now it is better. Now it is better.
Thank you. Thank you. Samir, I would definitely like to summarize few points, because you are, as I said,
so voice is cracking,
essential
voice
services,
is cracking.
Helping industry. You brought up some points which is very important for all of us to resolve.
Hello, Deepak, your voice is
Let
cracking.
me try to turn off the camera. Yeah, is it better now?
Yeah, Deepak.
Now it is better.
Thank you. So Samir, thank you for bringing the essential services, which is critical for all on the planet while we are doing the transactions, while we as the consumer sitting at home making ourselves secure and even taking as a seat of a corporate, how these organizations together, we as organization industry and you're serving your own clients, you have brought up the point of touching the cyber risk and mitigations. The ball is not small. We're learning that, you're right. The work from home is strategy to be brought up. I'm happy to hear that there is a long-term vision. Arvind also brought up, Shiv Kumar pointed out, Dr. Ajay brought up not just about education, but a visibility, the privacy and security aspect. For resilience, you have brought up the point of resilience, which is very, very important. Last to summarize on the protect and respond, which is very important, that as a threat intelligence, you need to build and protect and detect and respond to these services. Extremely thankful to hear from all of us together. I would like to just summarize few points for everyone and also for the audience. We have heard a lot on three sectors, which is we were fortunate to have three different sectors and industry point of view from the OEMs and the vendors side of it, from Sonic Wall. BSE has brought out the practical aspect of it. Arvind, you helped us in terms of the strategy, the golden rules, the quality, no error strategy, bringing privacy by design, foundation of a cultural change, bring it every day to boardroom rather than the IT operations challenges of security, which is more to do with regulatory governance aspect of it, but it has to be a larger discussion. So, Samir very rightly pointed out that how do we evangelize just one of the technology, and the way we are in the distributed environment from home, not just brothers, cousins, and people surrounding us, and fortunately they are part of us. So we have learned internally that every boundaries are blur now. So we used to say in IT industry, IT is blur, the perimeter is no more there, your systems and phones are directly connected to internet, which is true. But now we are in each other's home virtually, unconsciously. So with that, there is a cultural change requirement. The cyber risk and mitigation is not only about talking about best of the collaboration tools to be used, some security practices to be done. Rather, it has to be very, very sector oriented. It has to have a end plan of entire visibility, where your data assets are, what is the quality of level. Are we just struggling because of pandemic and building something, or is it like work from home, I can remotely connect where my data is secure while I am doing any transactions, or even if I'm right now collaborating, am I encrypted? Is my talk well content? Are we the only one listening and hearing, or somebody else is also in the man in the middle attack? So many things need to be built out. But to summarize, there is a pre-incident requirement we should be looking into. I would like to give only 30 seconds of our perspective as well, to say that there has to be a pre-incident process to be defined. There is a post-incident, that if you are attacked, if you are under COVID, the way we say, if I am ill because of this situation, do we have some best possible mechanism? Answer is yes. Similarly, in cyber risk mitigation, there is a possibility of not getting further impacted horizontally, laterally, movement, or vertically, the way we say. So there has to be a continuity plan. You need to bring the business back if you are part of any major attacks. And then what you have done, have you recovered it and then found out, is it still mitigated, or you have to create a consistent plan? This is our pre, during the condition, and post conditions are some of the aspects we would like to bring upon. With that, we come to an end. We will quickly open up for one or two questions. Otherwise, I'll put one or two questions to all the panel before we wrap up well on time. Is there any questions? I can see many, but it's very, the fonts are very small even on the last time as well. Rohit, do you see any questions, one or two, to take it up?
Yes, we can. We have a time to take 1 or 2 questions. Just give me 1 second. Okay, there's a question. If user is connected through VPN, is there still a chance that the network is affected?
Shiv, you want to start that while you build up the VPN, and I'll take help from.
Yes. So yes, the good question. Yes, it can be impacted, but it's all depend upon what kind of VPN you have. It client-based VPN and then SSL-based. The secured container is there. So the secured container doesn't allow to move any kind of malware or virus in that container, because that container is connected to your gateway. The second thing, at your gateway level also you have a multi-factor authentication like OTP is there. It is integrated with the AD, username and password. And normally also you allow lots of the risk mitigation technologies like anti-APT solution and other EDR solution, so that you can not allow any kind of malware or threat to enter into your network. So this way you can mitigate those kind of those kind of malware or viruses to come inside your network. Hello.
Okay. Any other panelists? Let's give me one. We can take one more question.
Deepak, you are not audible, please. I think your mic is mute, please, Deepak.
Now, am I audible?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So while the question comes up, or maybe to wrap up, I would put a question to all the distinguished speakers. Maybe it's a wrap up or one or two key messages while from the sector. How do you feel this current situation to be taken as a short-term approach and even as a long-term approach? What is it you will put as a priority out of good amount of information we shared as a short-term priority, which is very critical, relevant to the topic of cyber risk, and a long-term message which you wanted to give to the audience? Arvind, I'll start with you to help, and then we'll move on to Dr. Rana.
Sure. I think key message is in terms of preparedness and never to assume that something would probably not happen or would not happen to us. That mindset of being ready for all situations, because whatever we are going through of an entire nation, a world being shut down, services being shut down, is probably something that we've either seen in an English movie or read in a Robin Cook novel. Little did we ever think that this could happen to us. So I think it's a very powerful lesson that nature tells us that nature has always got the upper hand and we need to be humble. And that means that giving utmost importance to design and execution, and utmost importance to proliferation of that, because the time it takes for us to adapt to a new normal or a new situation is very, very low. And an organization in terms of business continuity, an organization in terms of resilience, because its commitment to the services it provides, whether it's Samir in HDFC or Sting, Dr. Rana in healthcare, the commitment to the end customers and the stakeholders is not diminished at all, and sometimes the anxiety is built up because of a certain lapse or non-availability of a service in a certain manner. I think that needs to be well understood. So I'm not going to call this short term, medium term, long term, but really take this as a lesson and ensure that we practice it always. Because the moment we start doing short term, medium term, long term, our mentality of it will not happen to us and it will not happen to us now will get in, and immediately the cutting the curve thing, rounding the corners starts happening. And our inherent cultural ability of postponing is always there, that we can never let go of. So I think those are aspects that we need to discipline ourselves. So it's a rude awakening for all of us. I don't think anybody enjoys this situation. I don't think anybody wants this to continue ever. But I think keeping that in perspective, being prepared all the time, being responsible inside out and outside in, as what I was mentioning earlier, I think that's what. So I would really avoid a short, medium term, long term.
Excellent. Thank you, Arvind. With this itself, let me change the question for everyone, which makes a lot of sense as well. What is the call to action? And rightly pointed out, whatever time it is, we need to be prepared. So let's take it as by heart that what is the call to action, Dr. Ajay Rana? A quick 15 seconds to 30 seconds from you to wrap up.
Yeah, thank you, Deepak, for asking this a lovely question. The approach with this with 3 point of view during COVID, before the COVID, as well as after the COVID-19. The first approach is that proactive approach to ensure the safety of the immense amount of information that is available with respect to all sectors. So we have the proactive approach. And second point is that about the strong access control, authentication, authorized mechanism to control the database, to monitor the database. It is up to the government policy. We are waiting. We are not here waiting for this. The government pass some rules and regulation. That is the life and about the data with respect to care about all these things. And the most important thing about two sectors, like we are in education. So two important sector is that at least 3 to 5% cost of your business must be spent on this, the cyber security mitigation. And at least all the sectors with respect to health sector, with respect to education, with respect to, I think, yes, bank has around more than 30 to 40% the cost maybe on the security, and they have the strong system. But same is applicable to education sector. At least 3 to 5% of your business cost may be used during this for cyber security mitigation point of view. And the last is about for all sectors, if you are in bank, if you are in healthcare, if you are in the infrastructure, about the in-house knowledge, the knowledge to update the knowledge of our employee, to update the knowledge of our customers, to update the knowledge about the end users. So that is from my side, Deepak, and thank you to provide this wonderful opportunity. I thank you to this the ASSOCHAM and your leadership, and thank you all. Thank you very much, Deepak Talwar.
Thank you, Dr. Rana. Very well taken. We are also learning from each other, so I will take that as a learning and implement in our organization how we can bring that better to healthcare and education. Very quickly moving to Samir. Samir, am I audible to you? Okay. Shiv, am I audible to you?
Yeah, tell me.
Okay, perfect. Shiv, over to you for call to action. We learned from Arvind, from Dr. Rana. What's the call to action? I mean, this is call to action from you for all of us, for the audience, and what you're seeing in reality, of 15, 30 seconds of a call to action from you.
See, one thing previously you are asking about, what is the learning or trend because of this due to COVID-19. I think one very important thing, after this trend, that work from home culture will become, previous, yes, it was there, but it was there only on few MNCs or maybe especially on IT industries. But especially for the BFSI or a government kind of structure or very highly regulated organization, which they never allow from work from home kind of stuff, that will start, and it will not for the given period of the time for specific for this for these 3-4 months, but now it will be continue forever. At least right now we are doing a reverse way, maybe 80-20 kind of time. Maybe tomorrow it is a reverse way. At least still 20 to 30% staff should be work from home, so that business continuity will be there for any kind of situation.
Thank you, Shiv Kumar. The BCP plan obviously remains always. Very quick note from Debashish. You can hear us?
Yes. Yeah. So
Debashish, over to you for a call.
Yes. Thank you. So it's basically like, I think everyone has said the same thing. If I summarize, and whatever we are seeing as from the industry, remote working is a new norm and it is here to stay. So now I think the industry has to understand what exactly is a new plan and how we can actually address this situation. So what we see is, I think Dr. Arvind, Mr. Arvind is also pointed out, I think don't take this as nothing will happen to us. Postponing the technology, postponing the decision-making things, it's a normal thing. So I think it's our regional issues. It's not with any industry specific. It's specifically probably for the Indians mentality. But then, what my suggestion is, I think don't compromise on technology. There is multiple new technologies are available. If you cannot take the decision, please reach out to your vendor. We reach out to us. Lot of use cases available. You can take those use cases and follow those use cases and implement, right? So of course you have to take the decision or else you cannot forward, right? So 3 things which I would like to tell, which you need to or any industry need to implement, because when it's a remote employees, 3 things. One is your client device, any device which you are using, it's a laptop, desktop, or handheld, whatever. And then your network and your application and data. 3 things you need to protect. And how you will protect, I think that's the question which we need to discuss. I'm not saying we have the best in class technology. Maybe, many other best in class technologies are there. You guys are the veteran in this industry, but we can collaborate and we can definitely achieve this objective, right? So that much I can tell. But yes, we have a lot of use cases, references. We'd love to share all this to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Debashish. Here, I would like to conclude the session. There was an extra time we have taken. I would take just 1 more minute to thank the vote of thanks to all the speakers. First of all, thanks to audience, everyone. If you're able to see us, hear us clearly, I would like to sincerely apologize for a 5 minutes delay to start. We all are dealing with this situation and technology as well. To conclude, I would like to thank Dr. Ajay Rana, Senior Vice President, RBEF MIT. Thank you for giving your time and valuable inputs on education fraternity. Mr. Arvind Sivakrishnan, Group CIO, Apollo Hospital. Nothing better can come from the healthcare industry. So many learnings and disruptions which you have brought. Thank you so much for doing this. Thanks, Samir, for building that for us, I would say, as a citizen, as well as from the corporate, the essential services we are running and some of the processes you brought up during this session. There are a lot more to do in multiple sessions to cover, deep dive into it. Shiv Kumar, bringing the technology perspective of it as a CISO and how other CISOs are handling it is a straightforward talk for many of the audience. Debashish, you have brought up the OEM perspective. I'm sure all of the technologies are really important. As I also mentioned, technologies are the pillar. Technology. That's how it is. I would like to conclude on only one point: security, privacy, and most important for us as an organization and even for all of us is the trust. This is the time we are going to build trust on each other. Trust with our families, trust of data, trust of privacy, trust of their security as well, from pandemic situation, security for my child, security for a family, while they are also accessing the same systems, same desktops and laptops. And at the corporate side, the governance practices, the regulation practices we all follow, and all the technical organizations, please use best of the collaboration tools, well encrypted, use multi-factor authentication, make a pre, post, and a future plan as well for such cyber threats and mitigation. With that, threats are closer to you than you think. Arvind, you brought that up. Let's keep a watch to it. We are also watching. Thank you everyone for joining in. I wish you a very happy day and all the best. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you all my esteemed panelists as well. Thank you, my colleagues. Thank you, Deepak.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Good day. Bye-bye.